Okay.
Whoa, look at everybody over here. Oh my god. Somebody died? There's a dead person? Hello, everybody. We have a very special surprise tonight. We are playing multiplayer on the Path of Titans demo. We have a couple special guests with us. We have the one and only Deathlyrage and Jiggy.
Hello.
Hello.
So, guys, first of all, beautiful work. This map is coming together fantastically.
Thank you.
I've just been having a wonderful time hopping around everywhere. One of my friends in the chat, Big Red Ben, he specifically had a question about the cave system and how that's going to work.
Yeah, Rebecca, if you want to answer.
Yeah, so we have the player caves or the home caves, and it's kind of like if you can imagine in other MMO games where you have player housing, where basically you get almost like an instanced cave. It's for you. No one else can enter it unless you invite them to enter it, and you can open it up with different. If you spend points that you've earned, you can make it larger, open up different rooms, have different kinds of rooms. Like if you're a carnivore, you can get like a bone room with bone trophies and things, or if you're a herbivore, you can have maybe a grassy bed that you can lay on. And it's just a little bit of a way, if you don't really want to sit around and always be open to PvP and stuff like that in the world and working on quests, you can kind of take a bit of a break and go and hang out in your cave and possibly invite other people to hang out in your cave with you as well.
That is insanely cool. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, for people to feel attached to the game, they feel like they need to have something like personal that they kind of own.
Yeah.
And your dinosaur and your skins is one of them. But a lot of people feel like if they can make a mark on the world of the game and change it a little bit, they feel more attached to the game and they like it a lot more. And there's a growing interest to have your own kind of area, and that's what the home cave's supposed to be. You know, where you can show off some of your achievements and invite your friends and things like that. It's not for everybody. Some people will be like, oh, I don't know about this, but it's for those specific kind of people who really like that.
Now, I know you guys are doing a lot of work with like cross-platform stuff, and you're already testing the mobile version, if I'm not mistaken. Is there any plans to bring this to console?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that one. So, regarding console, there's a lot of like non-disclosure agreements. So, even if we had the game working on console, we wouldn't be able to specifically say until like approval process and stuff like that. So, the extent I can say is that we already have it working on one of the consoles, at least one, and we can't tell you what one it is. And it's we're looking into all the others, so it's in progress.
Excellent. That is very cool.
We have tested it on mobile, and it does work. So we are going to do a mobile patch soon, and they'll be able to play on the same server as PC. So you're about to see an early version of cross-platform play, and you can log in with the same character that you've been playing on this server.
Oh, no way! We'll be able to be playing with
and,
mobile players.
Yeah, and we also are looking at adding another herbivore as a playable as well soon. We do have a fishing demo that's still in the works, but this multiplayer demo was basically finished first, so this came out first. And we also have the new movement system, which we're working on, and that'll also get an update and come in this demo too. So we call that precise movement, where you can basically walk backwards and you can strafe, and it's a new mode of moving in addition to the current one that we have.
I've seen concern about camping to catch players going in and out of caves.
Yeah, so this is a pretty common thing we get. So basically, there's multiple entrance points on the map, and when you go into them, they're like home cave entrances. They will take you to your instance cave, right, from any point on any of these entrances. If you go out of the entrance from inside your cave, you will go to the last one you entered, right? And there's no food in the cave, so it's not really a place for nesting or for food. It's more so, a home area when you can display your achievements and invite friends and things like that. But regarding camping, so if somebody does camp outside and wait, it's a valid gameplay tactic. I wouldn't say like it would ruin the game, like it's a valid strategy, but there isn't a lot of incentive to do that, mainly because it's going to be a lot easier to chase after somebody else who is in a cave. You don't know when they're going to come out, things like that, or if they're going to, even be logged in when they come back. And you're
Yeah.
going to have a food and water problem yourself trying to camp out and wait for somebody. So
You
we
you
didn't
have
think
to
of-
think. There's gonna be so many things to do in the game. Why would you sit and wait for someone to come out of a cave? And they might even just log out and go into a different character. Like, it's up to them.
you won't grow based on time, right? You actually grow by doing quests. So you're going to be heavily incentivized to make progress in the game instead of like sitting around or doing nothing kind of thing. So the game's always going to be pushing you with fun, interesting things to do. And we want to avoid, so we can theorize what people will do when they play the game, but we never actually know until we do a playtest, right? So that might be a problem, it might not be a problem. But we want to focus on, if it is a problem, we'll look at, and it ruins the gameplay experience, we'll look at fixing it. But until we have some evidence that it is, we won't just assume that it'll be a problem.
I think there was a pretty interesting bit in there. So the growth is going to be entirely tied to doing quests, you say?
Yeah, well, all forms that give you, marks, which is our progression currency, because the problem is if you have growth over time, you incentivize people waiting until they're grown. If you have growth over doing something or doing a quest or unlocking something or unlocking achievement, it'll be a much more interesting dynamic. You'll have things to do and people won't just wait around, right?
Yeah. So there won't be any time-linked growth.
It might be like less realistic because people kind of like growing over time, but it's really a mechanic that's not really fun for people. You really want to be doing something fun and not having a bush simulator kind of game where you're just waiting to grow and you die and then you lose all your growth, and then we have an even balance, right? So this game doesn't have permadeath, right? So you won't lose everything when you die. You'll lose some things, but it's a balance, an equal balance between losing everything and losing something, like somewhere in the middle. And we think that's where the fun point is.
Excellent. That was a fantastic answer. Thank you. We have another question in the chat here. Are there any plans on how to balance all of the playable creatures, and how will that be handled?
So we have thought about this for thousands of hours, actually, and we came to the conclusion that if you take like 18 dinosaurs and you're like, okay, this dinosaur's overpowered, we're going to buff its attack by 1, and this dinosaur's weak, we're going to negative its health by 1. You could actually spend 10 years trying to balance the dinosaurs, and everyone's still not happy, right? Like, if you look at games like World of Warcraft, where they have literally been updating the game for the past 10 years, changing numbers, and everyone's still not happy with the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Balance is important to a point, but we want to give each dinosaur a different playstyle, right? So it's not like a lot of people jump to, in game design, they jump to, oh, let's just put a limit so only 5 T-Rexes can be on a server at once or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's a very easy thing to do, right? From a gameplay perspective, is just restrict the player. What's actually hard to do from game design is come up with an interesting mechanic that solves the problem without putting an artificial restriction in, right? So we're not trying to balance popularity of all the dinosaurs. Some are going to be more popular than others, but we want to give each one a unique, interesting, fun way to play. Yeah, and one of the primary things we want to do is we'll collect analytics on how people play, right? So we'll have a giant heat map of here's where everybody got attacked, here's where everyone died, here's where everyone got stuck, here's how many times this dinosaur dies on average, and basically crunch the numbers and analyze play behavior, and we'll figure out, hey, is this fun, right? Does this need changing?
So I noticed I can't bite in here, and I was just desperate to fight Jiggy earlier, but I was just wondering, like, when will that be available in the demo? Because it'd be fun to spot it.
We do have a new combat system we're working on. The movement system is going to come out first because that's linked to the fishing demo. But for combat, we really want to move away from you left click, your dinosaur plays the bite animation, and then whatever's near you gets damaged. We basically want a more interactive combat system where maybe you can trample on somebody, or maybe you can drag them around, or latch onto somebody, or different kinds of attacks, because the model of your dinosaur plays an attack and damage happens is very old and very boring.
Yes, I can certainly
think that-
agree.
And so basically, a new combat system in multiplayer is extremely hard to program, right? Because you might be running up to somebody and maybe the network's a little bit out of sync and you latch onto somebody and you don't want to teleport him back or anything like that. So it's hard to do, but it's been done before and we definitely want to have something interesting to play. You know what I mean? And we've all had that experience, I think, especially when I was a developer on the Isle, where people would play on like the developer test map that has no textures on it, right? And they would play on a 100-meter map and they would run around doing the same thing over and over and over again, which was just biting each other because that was the only interesting thing in the game.
Yeah.
Which was combat, right? So we really value combat and we want to get it right, and that's kind of why we're taking our time with it in terms of that, because we want to look at each dinosaur individually and think, hey, what kind of attacks can we give this guy, and what attacks can we make unlockable through progression, that you can swap attacks out of.
I think that's been like the specter everybody's been chasing with many of these dinosaur games is good combat, and I'm so excited to hear all of the things you just said about how complicated each dinosaur will be instead of just the same old bite animation.
Yeah, so we want to avoid... So a lot of games, you play as a different dinosaur, but the dinosaurs just feel exactly the same with a different model. You know what I mean? And it's really boring and it's not really interesting. And we want to innovate a little bit more on that kind of combat system. And we've got plenty of ideas on exactly what we need to do. We just need to basically take enough time. It's hard to QA, right? Because if you have 18 dinosaurs, for example, you need to test dinosaur A against dinosaur B and dinosaur A against dinosaur A, and like it's a log n kind of test algorithm, right? So we want to make sure that when combat gets in, it'll fit for all the dinosaurs. So it's going to involve a lot of mechanics, like, when you latch onto somebody or you can pull them around and things like that, we can accurately account for your size and how it's going to affect combat. And that's probably the biggest investment of time, is getting the movement to be really good and then getting the combat to be really good. And speaking of collision is another thing we're working on. So a lot of game engines are made to have humans in them. So there's like a capsule and there's an area where your dinosaur collides with, and a lot of games don't have collision. Like World of Warcraft doesn't have collision on characters because it's a really hard thing to do, but that's another thing we're working on that we feel super important.
How intricate is the Gore system going to be? Like eating? Is asking if, like you'll be biting out specific chunks of meat from corpses or things like that?
Yeah, so basically the goal is we do want some gore. We want to be careful what kind of rating we get. So, if we don't really want to get a rated 18, for gore,
Yeah.
but we'd like to go for some level of gore. Maybe it can be disabled through parental controls, but the way our eating system is going to work is it's not going to be you go over to dinosaur and you tap E. It's basically going to be you bite a chunk off somebody, and that chunk's an individual piece in your mouth, and you can kind of carry it around and drop it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same way fish will going to work too, right? So when you kill a fish, you pick it up, you carry it around, maybe you store it somewhere, maybe you give it to your young or something like that, right? Or take it back to your nest. So as an individual piece, and we see the combat system working similar to that, where you bite somebody and maybe take a chunk of meat off him and he's still alive, kind of thing, and maybe you just run off with that chunk. That's all you need, right?
Yeah, brutal.
So that's kind of how the current goal for separate chunks. We have a overfishing mechanic where if you kill too many fish, they'll actually spawn less quickly, right? And it prevents the whole problem of, if you're a fisher, you have food and water in one place, right? So we don't want it to be too easy.
Yeah.
We want you to be conservative of the environment and food and things like that. That really makes a difference.
So something that I think's really at the core of this game, definitely, is you're trying to set it apart with the quest systems that you have in mind. Could you share with us some of your ideas for the kind of quests that our dinosaurs will be undertaking in this world?
So I'll let Jiggy talk a little bit about that, but I have some things to add after she's done.
Yeah, so a lot of our quests, if you're familiar with World of Warcraft or a lot of other MMOs, you know there's the typical quests like, you know, kill 10 of these things or discover this location. And so there's a lot of quests, you know, the typical kinds of quests you might find, like go and forage in this area and find this rare mushroom, for example. And if you're a herbivore or some kind of, you know, herbivore that likes eating the mushrooms, then that might be a quest that's given to you, and a carnivore wouldn't get a quest like that. So it's kind of themed quests, and we can give quests out that try and encourage certain kinds of behaviors. You'd never get a quest as a Styracosaurus to go out and specifically kill a Daspletosaurus because that's not really what they as animals would really do. And more quests you might do is defend one of your pack mates or one of your herd mates from an AI that we can spawn. That, you know, an AI spawned is trying to kill this particular, you know, dinosaur that you're trying to protect, and that can be a quest as well. So defend them. Um, you know, like I said, foraging quests, killing quests, maybe kill a certain amount of AI, or go and discover a certain area on the map because the areas of the map will be labeled fairly well. And there's plenty of things like that, and especially once we have growth and nesting in, it can be go and nest in this many people or that and the other thing, and just try and have quests themed around specific dinosaurs and encourage them to be, I guess, you know, follow their natural behaviors, or at least what we think their natural behaviors would be.
I think that's really smart.
Yeah, so one additional thing about quests is we understand that quests can be unrealistic, right? So a lot of people have concerns about that. So we're trying to make quests as realistic as we can while still being fun, but we do realize that in a game like this, you really need something to do, you know, otherwise it definitely gets boring, and we're extremely aware of that one.
Here, let me read it. Can you ask, is it true that Deathlyrage stole some stuff from the Isle? I haven't heard that, but some people say so.
Yeah, so answers that one to no. So all written by me, and none of it's from the Isle. But to be full transparent, I was a developer on the Isle for a number of years, co-founded it, and basically programmed it from the ground up.
Excellent. I really appreciate you answering that question.
No, I think it's really important. So like in terms of how we are as a company is like we really value being honest and transparent with people and not lying to people. Like every time you lie to somebody, there's some controversy going on, right? And if you're just honest with people, there's really no ground to be gained and no controversies to be had. And you know, we really strongly agree that, you know, indie game development's hard, and we don't want to be bashing any other games. You know, for example, like the Beast of Unity game, for example, those were made by developers who've never made a game before. As in, like, that was their first game. They didn't know how to program or didn't know how to do anything. So it's a really amazing game relative to never having made a game before. But in terms of a player's perspective, if they compare it against a game that's made like $10 million, it doesn't really hold up. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's kind of what we want to communicate to people, a little bit of transparency on what goes into making a game and where the money's going and things like that. It's really important.
We got a couple questions about a matriarch system, in sort of like a herd or like an ape or a alpha system with carnivores. Is there going to be anything like that?
Yeah, we have an idea for having like the leader of your pack or whatever, and then there's be some specific benefits for having something like that. But the main thing here is that there's going to be something like, it's called a clan system, where it's similar to a guild in other MMOs, except it's, you know, dinosaur themed. So you have a clan, and you can have a big clan of all the same species of dinosaurs. So for example, we could have a Latin clan for the three of us right here, and then through that clan, you'd have things like clan quests where you have to get together and take on a really big challenge, and everyone would get a reward. And then you have maybe like, we're still playing around with this idea, but we'd really like the idea of like a clan skin or a clan color, so you can have a unique color to your clan that you can pick from. So like maybe there's like a green accent or something that you might be able to use. But we're still playing around with that idea. But basically, you'd be able to access your clan screen whenever you want, and you can message with people in your clan and join servers with them, and just have an easier time of having a better MMO experience instead of trying to arrange things through other services like Discord, for example.
Oh, that is so helpful. So you'll have a voice over system inside the game?
Yep, there will be voice, and it's actually really cool. We have an idea where you have your voice chat, and if we were all Latins right here and we were talking and doing voice chat, you'd be able to hear each other and understand each other, no problem. But if an Allosaurus was standing right next to us and we were talking in voice chat, all he would hear is Latin calls.
Oh my god!
So your voice gets translated to Latin calls. So he'd see our mouths flapping and calling and stuff, and then he's just like, well, I don't know what those guys are even saying.
That is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That is amazing. Alright, so we have a question here from a good friend of mine, Lacer. They're wondering how well solo players will do, or is everyone better off in a clan?
It's definitely, this is an MMO, and so there's going to be lots of great opportunities for people who are in clans and groups and stuff. But, like we mentioned earlier in the stream, every dinosaur will have a unique playstyle to it, and some of those dinosaurs will have more solo-oriented playstyles. So maybe something like a raptor is definitely better off in a group. But if you're really into solo, then you might want to try one of the, maybe, for example, the bigger herbivores. Maybe like an Eotriceratops, and that guy is better suited perhaps to a solo gameplay style. And there's be plenty of things to do, and you'll also be able to interact with AI in meaningful ways as well. So you don't necessarily always have to play with human other players. You can do solo play, but with AI, for example.
You can also invite AI to your group. And one thing I want to mention about solo play is that groups will always be overpowered, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, groups are overpowered in real life.
I did have a question. This is one thing that's been on my mind is, so the early access for this game was initially talked about having a December release, but I saw the development blog back in mid-November that said that the game is being delayed, with announcements for the early release coming Q1 2020 and then Q2 2020 for an announcement on the release of the full game. My friend Big Red Ben asks, what are a lot of the biggest hurdles you guys have been running into that helped you realize you needed more time?
Yeah, so one of the ones that we figured was important is we wanted to try to sync up all the platforms to release around the same time, which would be really nice. But, if some of those platforms, like console, for example, they might need certification and things like that in different regions. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason was the combat, movement, and collision system we're trying to do hasn't been done before, and for some circumstances, like the collision system, hasn't been done before in gaming, at least not in any games I know that are multiplayer. You know what I mean? So, like, hasn't been done in World of Warcraft and The Isle and a bunch of games.
Yeah, you're really breaking new ground here.
It hasn't been done before. So it's really hard to predict something that no one's done before, right? So everything else we can predict. We've done voice chat before, we've done a lot of things before, but that kind of thing, we want to give it enough time, especially if we haven't done it before. You know what I mean? And we feel like that those core features will make or break the game in terms of the user experience, and they have to get in. And if the game comes out early, you have the problem where you're maintaining a live version of the game and you're working on additional content at the same time, right? So basically, in order to get around that, we have to split into two different teams, right? So one team would be maintaining the game and working on bug fixes. Another one would be like working on aquatics and flyers and things like that, right? So we want to give ourselves as much development time as possible before we have to do that two-team split, because we will be a little bit faster.
Excellent. Well, yeah, you guys have already put out such beautiful work here in the demos, and the things that you're trying to accomplish are truly revolutionary. So I am happy you guys are taking all the time you need to put out a game that you want to put out, instead of rushing
yeah,
something
and
out.
we really don't want to do an early access game. We really want the whole game to come out kind of thing when we release. Because there's a lot of problems with early access games, and one of them is the game comes out, the developers get millions of dollars, and then now there's no motivation to finish the game. You know what I mean? Like, and they can do it at a slow, leisurely pace. And the reason why the deadline was so tight is because we know that in development, if you say the game's going to take a year, you will fill that whole year up. If you say it's going to take 3 years, you will fill all 3 years up, no matter what. It's like a human being problem. So we give ourselves a short amount of time because we know that we'll fill up that time.
So I just want to note, I ran into my first barrier finally.
Wow, that took a little while.
It did. It took a long while. So herbivores. I've been getting repeated questions in the chat now about how do herbivores eat? Do they graze? Do they have specific food types? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so herbivores, they don't graze necessarily. The idea with herbivores that we really wanted to get around was, you know, eating as a carnivore is really fun and engaging because you have to go and hunt something and it's kind of risky, and that's kind of the fun of being a carnivore. But as a herbivore, your food's kind of just there and you just have to find it and you eat it, and it's not quite as engaging or fun. So the idea with herbivore eating is there's bushes, yeah,
Yep.
and you can eat and you can fill yourself up, and there's like berry bushes for the most part. It's all just berry bushes and things that are very clearly not just generic ferns. But a big one is we're gonna have lots of different kinds of food for herbivores that actually give you either benefits or negatives depending.
Yeah, so one of the things important to herbivores is that every game has different design decisions, right? So in some games, people treat herbivores like, hey, that's a food, you shouldn't be playing as a herbivore, right? Like that's a food and for running away. But we don't really believe in that design principle. We believe that it's an equal player character and it has a unique gameplay style and we can make it interesting. So that's kind of the approach we're taking with herbivores, for sure. Good.
Whoa, look at everybody over here. Oh my god. Somebody died? There's a dead person? What happened? This is craziness.
Maybe
I don't think the game's designed for this many people in one place.
I don't...
There's 42 people on right now.
Oh, my friend Swishosaurus here wants me to tell you that he bought all of those custom skins. He wanted me to tell you specifically, Jiggy. Your work is appreciated.
well, thank you so much. It's always been really fun to stream for everyone too.
Oh my god!
I know Zalus, like, you guys might not realize it, but Zalus is doing a lot of work too. Like, most of the streams you see nowadays are him working on the map.
Alright, soldiers. Line up. I want to see your war face!
I'm surprised the game is holding up this well. Like, it's hard to get this many people on when you do a private test. That's okay, we will work on a fix of that.
So, how's dying gonna work? Like, you mentioned earlier it's not gonna be as punishing, so...
Yeah, so we have this point currency called marks, which you can use to unlock skins or colors and things like that. And you'll lose some of that when you die, but you'll retain your character skill.
Yeah, there's no permanent death, and also your characters are tied to your account, not to a server. So if you feel like you want to hop around and change servers and stuff, it's all there for you.
And basically you set up 5 servers and link them all together.
Oh, wow. I'm just seeing the biome change.
So-
This is cool.
It is really cool. I really like the giant log that you can walk through. Like, that really is something.
Plenty followed, though. They're still coming. So that leads me to ask, like, what kind of... You guys are going to be supporting modding, right?
Absolutely.
We already have modders who are working on mods at the moment. So we definitely want to get the modding stuff out before the game launches, just so people are working on things.
Okay, cool. I want to...
And mods will work on mobile and console as well.
Ooh, that is unique.
Which is a feature of the platform. But there will be a lot of things you can edit without needing the dev kit, which we think is extremely important. So another thing realism communities like to do is they like to set up dinosaur profiles and rules and things like that. We will basically want to have a system where in the server configuration you can set up some dinosaur profiles and rules. And you can set these up instead of needing to, oh, you weren't behaving like this dinosaur, we need to ban you now. It's more so like a...
Oh, that is so convenient.
Can help out a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, we totally understand, like, this game's not for everybody, and not everyone's gonna like the game. We're just gonna try and make the best game we can, but...
Yeah, and, it's also early in optimization, so if it doesn't run on your computer too well, you can refund and hopefully it'll get better over time.
Yeah, we optimize it more in the future, you can rebuy it.
Oh my god. Sorry, all these jumping
sorry.
Latina Venatrix. Do you guys have, like, a short name for it?
We call it the Latin.
The Latin?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at all these Latins jumping. Sorry to
I'm
interrupt
surprised
you.
how well it runs. That's amazing.
Oh my god, I love this.
There's one question I want to answer, which is, if you purchase a game, for example, on console, would it be accessible on other platforms? Yeah, so the current plan we want to do is, if you buy the game once, you get it everywhere. You don't have to rebuy it.
Oh,
But
wow.
we're only sure we can do that on PC and mobile. If we can do that on console, we'd love to set that industry standard, because we're really sick of people needing to rebuy games. Another one was about scars, combat scars, and permanent
Yes.
scars. So there is one thing we want to look into where we basically would have a scar texture on your dinosaur, and when you'd get hit somewhere, we could add on like scratch marks onto that texture, and that's a unique per dinosaur thing. But that's not including all the horns and things you can rip off, or of other dinosaurs that we already have.
Yeah, like Styracosaurus and Stegosaurus and stuff, you can actually just rip the plates and the horns right off, and eat them.
This is awesome.
This is great.
I'm gonna break the conga line, guys. I'm sorry. I'm out. Also have a question about whether there will be some sort of dinosaur variants.
What do you mean?
Specifically referencing things like hypos.
Oh, no, we don't have any plans for fictional creatures in this game. It's all gonna be as accurate as we can get it, and all real dinosaurs, though they might be from different time periods. For example, we have the little Platyhystrix as an AI creature, but that, as far as I'm aware, was around far before the dinosaurs were around, but it's more just sort of a prehistoric thing. And if you're a server owner and you very specifically only want realism, and you want accuracy, then you can enable or disable playable dinosaurs or AI or anything like that. So if you wanted to have an accurate representation of a certain ecosystem, then you're free to do that.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that feature.
No plans for fictional dinosaurs.
Also, no dev-only dinosaurs.
We have some people wondering about, potential flying or aquatic creatures.
So some of the stretch goals that we've reached, we have we have like some mosasaurs that we unlocked, and we have some flyers, and I think there's a microraptor that we unlocked as well, which would be more of like a glider. So all of these dinosaurs are really awesome, and we will be adding them. However, we have to be careful to not work on too much before the launch of the game. So while we're going to start working on the fundamentals of these dinosaurs, they're not going to be in at the launch of the game or in pre-release. Those dinosaurs are going to be added after launch, so as free additions to the game, free updates.
In-game voice chat. Awesome. I love our summoning circle. We got more.
And it should be locational, but I'm not sure.
It sounds like it because it only came in on my right side of my headphone, so I'm thinking it might be Trillo Bay.
Hello.
มันพูดในเกมได้ด้วยพี่
I think he might have heard you.
Yes.
It looks like he's speaking a different language, so
might would.
unfortunately I don't understand him.
I might just remove myself. Excuse me, please.
Hello.
I can hear you sounding farther away, Jiggy. Oh,
Hello.
that's awesome!
Hello.
Oh my god, I'm moving around and I'm hearing you guys on different
Hello.
sides. That is awesome.
Because you can optimize for speed and frame rate and memory usage, and you can also optimize for human life used developing the game. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the factors we include is like, how long is this going to take? You know, people really going to care about this thing, and is it really going to make the game better? And that's what we optimize for. So we can. That's kind of why we've made so much progress so far. You know what I mean? I was really lucky to get this amazingly talented team together because we're only, you know, almost a year in. We've already made this much progress, which is awesome.
So Biz here asks, in one of the trailers, the Serato used what looked like a finisher animation to make a kill. Is that going to be a part of combat, or is that more of a theatrical thing?
Yeah, that's going to be something we want to see in our combat system.
Ooh, I am excited to
It's
see
gonna be
that.
tough because there's so many different sizes of dinosaurs. You know, and you have to take into account, you know, all right, you've got small dinosaur versus big dinosaur. How does he take that down? Or big dinosaur versus medium-sized dinosaur. How does that take it down? So it'll be a lot of work, but that's something we're super interested in showing off and doing.
Joshua, I think that question was answered. There will be a pickup carrying system in the game, kind of. You mentioned you'll be able to do that with, like, food, but will you be able to do that with, like, say, baby dinosaurs?
Yeah, you can do that with baby dinosaurs and chunks of food and fish. Right, and we could look at flyers being able to pick up a baby dinosaur, and then you have a whole different strategy of dropping it in the middle of the air, so you can kill it more effectively when it hits the ground.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how that affects our age rating, but you can do that.
Will dinos have more attacking abilities like tail swipe, slashing claws? I assume that was meant to be, not splashing claws. Thanks for the question there, Trex's Planet.
Just splash water.
You just splash water on another dino. Yeah, they mentioned trample, Trex. There is plans for trample. But tail swipes and slashes. What do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, tail attacks are a thing. Depending on your type of dinosaur, like Stego will have tail attacks for sure. But the idea with a lot of the unlocking system is you can unlock more using your marks or your points that you earn through quests. You can unlock different kinds of attacks that might suit your preferred playstyle. So let's say you're an Allosaurus character and you're really into playing Allosaurus. You might prefer maybe small bites and you can kind of run and do hit and run type tactics, or you might maybe notice that a lot of the small dinosaurs are trying to come after you because you tend to go after the small ones, so maybe you'll get a tail attack and you can try and whip them away from your rear end and stuff like that. So there's just lots of different types of attacks, and it's up to you to decide, you know, how you want to play them.
Right on. Thank you all so much for watching and being here and asking your questions. It was a ton of fun, really exciting. We got to experience so much new content here for Path of Titans that we've yet to see, and this is the first time that this has been live, the multiplayer, like in a public way. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. First time. You're first. Congratulations. I think this video people will be referencing, people who missed out, and they'll be like, "When's the next test?" And we'll put up a blog post with all the dates and things like that when we do the next
So
test.
pay attention, guys.
And we'll have some bug fix before that.
Cool. I just found this area. This is so cool. Wow. Cattails, the down tree, wow. This is gonna be an amazing game. But alright guys, again, thank you all so much for watching. Appreciate you for being here. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like. Goodbye guys.
See ya.
Goodbye.